We're now live.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We will now call this meeting to order. If we all can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Renisha McNeil. She is absent. Vice Chair Therese Cologne. Eric Morissette.
Here.
Chairperson Chanel Brown.
Present.
We have quorum.
Now I'll ask for a motion to approve the previous minutes.
I motion.
I second that.
All right, so motion approved. Minutes have been approved.
Let us call roll call.
Let
on
me
the
call roll
minutes,
call.
please.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
Vice Chair Therese. Eric.
Aye.
And Chairperson Chanel.
Present.
Motion passes.
Welcome. Can put in that now she came in. It's now 6:05.
So do we have any addition, deletions, withdrawals, and continuance? We're now open for the public hearing, if anyone wants to come forth.
None at this moment, Chair.
Thank you. So next we have on the agenda our applications in public hearings.
Let's open it up for public hearing, please.
Okay, floor is open.
With no public hearing, you can go ahead and close it.
Up closed. Action item 6.1, file number 21 SP05.
Actually, if you could read the whole title.
Okay, file number 21 SP0.5, revised, applicant Southeast Investment Incorporation, location 3195 South Hallandale Beach Boulevard. I'm sorry, West Hallandale Beach Boulevard. Request site development plan amendment for a previously approved planned site to remove the fast food court and bank medical retail office building and including a medical building, hospital in Seneca Town Center.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning and Zoning Board. My name is Mike Vondermeulen. I'm with a firm called Keith and Associates. We'll be the consultant town planner as Ms. Heidi had accepted another position and has moved on. So in the interim, our firm has already been working with the town of Pembroke Park as the civil engineers and working on various projects with the Public Works Department. And so we hope to provide continually good service to the town. And I'll go ahead and start my presentation. I'm sorry, this is the wrong presentation.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that's true. I apologize.
I don't want to steal the attorney's thunder.
There you go.
Mine probably looks very similar. All right, there we go. All right, as the chair said, this is case number 21 SP05 revision for the Seneca Town Center.
Do you want me to move it?
Yeah, can you go ahead and just advance? Okay, so this is site plan amendment. It's to eliminate the fast food, the office and bank use, add approximately 31,000 square foot hospital use. And on the originally approved site plan, which you saw in October, the Wawa service station and the self-storage facility will remain the same as they were originally approved. All right, in our analysis, the hospital is a permitted use in B1. The architecture and color palette are consistent with the town's guidelines. The parking meets the town code requirements, actually exceeds the town code requirements. The analysis of the traffic report shows that there's actually a reduction from the two uses, the bank office use and the fast food use actually generates more traffic than this hospital will. So there'll be actually a reduction in traffic. And the last one is there will need to be a plat note amendment to this property. That will need to be approved by the town and the county commission and recorded in the public records prior to the issuance of a building permit. It should not hold up the site plan approval. It's just another additional application that proceeds at a different pace because it goes both to the town and to the county. So this was the original site plan, or this was the site plan that is now proposed. Again, there's no change to the left and the right, which were the Wawa and the self-service facility. Here's a little outline of the hospital use itself with two porte-cocheres one on each side of the building. It is 2 stories, again, approximately 31,000 square feet, and there's 48 parking spaces, 3 of them there, ADA. This is the elevation that you'll see from West Hallandale Beach Boulevard. Looks very nice. The conditions of approval, based on the staff report, the plat note amendment is required. Each building must continue to stand on its own, so each property could be sold off individually in the future. They would all have their own parking, meet all the typical zoning requirements for each parcel individually. The applicant should consider changing the word Hallandale with the word Pembroke. The color samples and will require final approval from the town when reviewing it against the color palette. The signs must comply with the town code or seek a variance. And the approval, again, just like the one in October, you'll have 18 months to pull a building permit. So as speaking with the applicant's attorney, it seems like they want to move forward fairly quickly. So that's very good news. And that concludes my presentation.
Good evening, Vice Chair, members of the board. My name is Brian Adler, law offices at Bills in Sundberg, 1450 Brickell Avenue, Suite 2300. I'm joined this evening by Jeff Zito, who is, as you noted, the applicant is Southeast Investments, which is an affiliate of Ferber, Ferber Construction. And we had the opportunity to present the original application to you twice, actually, in October. You may recall that there was an item that was presented, but because of a modification, it was not actually properly before you, so we were going to present it 2 weeks later, and we had the opportunity to kind of do I'll call it a dry run presentation, and then come back before you 2 weeks later. During that time, I also detailed Ferber's history and track record in the state, and I'm not going to go through all that this evening, other than to say they do have a proven track record of being able to bring this type of development to fruition, which is something that's very important to the town, because if you go by the site now, for several years you have green fence and rebar sticking up, and they are moving as quickly as possible to eliminate that. They have a site work permit application that's in. The town is ready, willing, and able to issue it. They're ready and willing. They're not able. The able is Broward County has to approve it, and as soon as that's done, they're looking to proceed as quickly as possible. So at the time that we came before you, we had a presentation of, and I'm gonna go through, and I appreciate Michael's, I'll say Vandermeulen is a harder name, so I'm gonna go with Michael, presentation and utilization of a lot of the information in such a short time. So I really commend him on being able to absorb that. So this is the 6.22 acre parcel on Seneca Boulevard on Hallandale Beach Boulevard. At the time of the original approval, this board made a recommendation to the town commission to approve the application. And on December 15th, the town commission sided with your recommendation and they approved the application. So what we have before you now is an approved application that consisted of essentially 4 components. The Wawa on the one end and the self-storage on the other. I call those the bookends. Those were the already a solid done deal. The 2 in the middle were a Popeyes, and one that we described as a retail, medical, office, we'll call it the question mark component. During that time, in seeking the use for that property, I'm going to be 100% honest, they had different users coming back and forth. They were focused on trying to bring the right use to the town, so they did not take the first use that came by for the other side of the property. In the interim, an opportunity came and presented itself to Ferber, which was Nutex. Nutex is a premier micro hospital or freestanding emergency room, and kind of what I'll look at when I'm going to age myself a little bit. When I grew up, you had a doctor's office and you had a hospital. Those were your options. And then over time, doctor's offices had started taking, so you call your doctor's office and they say, oh, it's going to be a little while. And this new creature came about called an urgent care center. They didn't have urgent care centers when I was younger, and that's because now when you call, I called my doctor the other day, and I wanted to make an appointment. They said, oh, the calendar's booked through May, and it's not open until after May, so call back. So obviously, if you needed antibiotics or something else, you're not waiting for 2 months. So urgent care centers popped up. As populations continue to grow, the areas, so urgent centers kind of bridge that gap between doctor's offices and hospitals. Then, as populations grow, the area and footprints for hospitals, which are usually campuses, there's not a lot of area so you've got growing populations, no real areas to put hospitals. Hospital wait times and ER wait times continue to rise, not just here. There's actually websites dedicated to tracking that because healthcare and emergency care is obviously something important to everybody. So a new type of use popped up to bridge the gap between urgent care and hospitals, and those are freestanding emergency departments, freestanding emergency rooms are sometimes called, or micro hospitals or smaller hospitals to try and accommodate that need less of a footprint, can go more in a smaller location and serve the immediate area as well as the surrounding areas. 2 major benefits come from that. One is closer proximity for emergency type services, et cetera, and things that are not able to be handled necessarily at the urgent care. There are some overlap, but things that can't be handled at urgent care. But the other byproduct is, if you look at the emergency room wait times, the people that go there would then often be going to the emergency room, which then increases the wait time. So this actually has the ability to service the community and decrease the wait times for the emergency rooms. So we're here before you for a modification of the original site plan that was approved to replace the 2 center uses with a micro hospital or with a premier specialty hospital. We are before you because your town code rightfully says if you have an approved site plan and you're modifying that approved site plan, your code specifically says that modification comes first to this board for a recommendation of approval. And that's section 20-16 of your code. No changes in a site development plan previously approved by the town commission shall be permitted after approval until such proposed changes have been reviewed by the planning and zoning board and subsequently approved by the town commission. So this is our first step in trying to get that approved. So what is approved already? So this is what we're seeking, a site plan amendment to the December 15th, 2021 town commission approval. And what we're seeking is your recommendation to modify that approval. We are here with a staff recommendation of approval, and I will go through some of the items that are part of the conditions. So this is what was approved. This, I'm happy to say, is what's not changing. The Wawa is going nowhere. The self-storage is going nowhere. Those I'm calling our bookends. Solid actually probably closing at the end of this month, and we are trying to proceed as soon as possible through the process and permitting to try and have the Wawa and the self-storage get permitted and to proceed as quickly as possible. It's in our interest and the town's interest. So it is replacing essentially the two center parcels with a single parcel. So the hospital footprint essentially is 18,000. What you had before was about 5,000 something square foot footprint. So the hospital could not fit solely on the medical office building, et cetera, and you want it to be a comfortable and a larger site. So it is actually replacing the two center uses with a single use. While it has a larger footprint and a larger square footage overall, about 31,000 square feet as opposed to 5 or 6, fast food restaurants by the ITE trim menu are one of the higher generators of traffic. So we're actually representing a 30 trip reduction in traffic as opposed to an increase in traffic, even though it's a larger building. The double benefit of that is less traffic, an extensive investment into this, and you're going to see the building, much higher investment onto the property, which translates into also higher tax base for the town annually. So you pay, your tax base is based on the value of the property, but also based on the structure. So that's going to inure to the benefit of the town. So Ferber was after they secured Wawa and the self-storage, they continued to look for quality national users. Again, Wawa, Nutex is it actually was based out of Texas, but they've been expanding in many different states. They focused on this location, and when I said an opportunity presented itself, Ferber was marketing the site. They selected, this was a pinpoint where they wanted to locate, and they wanted to come here based on their determination of where need is located. Self-storage is staying. We are not making, so in our original approval, and one of the things that we worked with the town on was to create pedestrian access and vehicular access to the site. There are no changes to that are being proposed. So the changes to Seneca Boulevard are changing. This is the rendering of the hospital that is being proposed. This is not the first, this is not the second, and this is not the third rendering of what we had. What was originally presented by Nutex was a beautiful building, but it was a beautiful building somewhere else. You have a theme for Wawa and you have a theme for self-storage, and what they had was a more sterile, as a pun on hospital, looking type of building that again, if it was a standalone site, very nice. It did not match the cohesive architecture that we were seeking when we were seeking the Popeyes and the other use with the two bookends. And working with the town through several reiterations, what you end up with is actually it was a flat roof. They added parapets. The town said, no, we still want it to be more, raise the parapets higher. And so what you ended up with, which is a very attractive building that serves functionally many components. One is the use itself, but Wawa is a one-story. The self-storage is a four-story. This is a two-story building that bridges the gap. A two-story flat roof building was not bridging the gap. So number one, it blends cohesively, and I'll get to that slide, but it's also in front of you. The second thing it does is behind this building, so if you go back to the original approval, you had this nice big gap in between the buildings. And what do you see behind that back? You're still seeing large, elongated industrial park. So what you have now is actually the rear industrial park. What you're seeing now instead is landscaping and an attractive building. An industrial park has a purpose. It serves a tremendous amount of purpose. It provides jobs and distribution. Aesthetics are not their strong point. And so now what you have is an aesthetic building that is actually essentially what you're seeing on your main frontage road. So you'll note that the word Hallandale has been removed from there. We're still working on the name. Nutex is the one who's coming up with the name. The reason why Hallandale was chosen was not based on the city. They go based on the street. So when someone's looking for a site, Hallandale Beach Boulevard, they know it as that. They're still working on that. I know that's one of the conditions, which was to explore, which they are doing. And you have actually nice siding on the building. This is a very different building. And I'm not going to show you the original building, but it was attractive but more plain and sterile and flat. Those are patient rooms above, so to create glass, have them have the ability to see the lake across the street as well. So very nice rooms, very modern type of facility, but still blending in with the surrounding area. If I can. And so what you see now is a building that you have a one-story, you've got the continuation of the themes and the color palettes, and you have the two-story center and the four-story self-storage facility. So again, Wawa is not changing. Very important to us, and very important to the town. I think Susie would be very mad if I said the Wawa was going somewhere.
I love Wawa too.
And while there's not a fast food restaurant, one of the things Wawa is known for are their subs. And so there will be food and subs. The access remains in the back. The self-storage is not going anywhere. And as a matter of fact, we're seeking to proceed as quickly as possible with permits. A few just minor points I want to note. And actually, I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Vandermeulen this afternoon as well. One of the things you may recall when we came in was to add self-storage to an ordinance, and that ordinance was added self-storage. Hospitals are not only a permitted use in the B1, but importantly, the specific Seneca Park ordinance that governs Parcel B of Seneca Park, which is essentially from both sides of Seneca Boulevard, fronting on Hallandale Beach Boulevard, specifically lists hospitals as a permitted use. So we are not here before you seeking a variance. We're not here before you seeking a change to the ordinance. We're actually seeking a modification to the plan for use that is permitted under the plan. You heard this evening a few times the words Plat note amendment, and there's not a lot of explanation for that, so I want to just give you a background on what that is. In Broward County, when a property is platted, they very often detail whatever you're coming in with, this is the plat, and this is what you're approved for. And when you want to change from that, you've actually got to go for a plat note amendment because it's recorded on the property. When we came before, we did not have to get a plat note amendment because the plat said you're allowed up to 160,000 square feet of commercial use on Parcel B. We were under it. This building does put us over 160,000 square feet of, we're going to put that in quotes, commercial use. However, 121,000 square feet of that is the self-storage facility. Self-storage is one of the, while I mentioned that fast food restaurants, one of the highest traffic generators, self-storage facilities, one of the absolute lowest traffic generators overall, much lower than a commercial use. So we are actually decreasing the trips, but because we are going over that 160,000 square feet, we're actually going to do a plat note amendment that just governs this parcel to allow up to 35,000 square feet of hospital use, hospital medical ER use, we're going to call it. That gets approved by Broward, that's governed by Broward County. Broward County's process says we need also approval from the town. The plat note amendments, often in some places they're done by letter. In the town they do it by resolution, so that goes to the town commission. It's not something that you have to vote or rule on. It's really a companion of, it goes hand in parcel with the changes to the site plan. We are going to have a 35,000, it now exceeds it. It's quite common. This is actually, the plat was originally recorded on Seneca, I think it was maybe in the 60s or something. I've got to go back and double check. It's been amended a few times. It might have been the 80s. So there was a Parcel A, Parcel B. They created a Parcel A1 unrelated to us. We're creating, we could just try and amend it for the whole Parcel B, but we don't want to affect anybody's rights on the other side of Seneca. So because you've got a building that there's going to be a car wash, the Broward Sheriff's Office might be something else in the future. So we're just going to leave that, and they can probably utilize it under the approvals that they already have. So that's just what the plat note amendment is. It's basically to amend. To amend the note. Miami-Dade County generally doesn't have plat notes that limit your development. This is just something that's it's kind of a functional requirement of the platting process. So again, this is a very high-profile location. We are absolutely looking to transform that green fence as soon as possible. When that site work permit comes, that fence is hopefully coming down, and we're pushing as quickly as possible because Ferber would like to do a groundbreaking on May 4th, and so we're looking to really proceed as quickly as possible. Nutex is very eager to be in the community, so the 18 months is not a problem. We're jockeying just timing with regard to just nuances of when you file the plat note amendment versus the modification. We want to get our permit for Wawa and self-storage as soon as possible so there are no slowdowns, and we proceed with the Plat note amendment simultaneous while we're going through that. So with that, I'm here for any questions. We thank you very much for your time, and we look for we are requesting a recommendation of approval to the town commission for the revised use. And let me just, so I mentioned a big investment. It's going to be a $20 million investment in the site. And I apologize, I'm just going to go through all this is showing you is that so hospital emergency rooms often can have a 30 to 60 minute wait. ERs often can have a 15 to 30 minute wait. And these type of facilities can have a five minute or less wait. This is not based on this area. This is based on general. We did look at hospitals in this area, and this would be able to serve to reduce wait times in the property. And again, this is what we're seeking your approval on.
I wanted to ask, where is one of these places already? Like, what state or city? I saw that this will be the first location in Florida.
So going to be I know they're looking at another facility in Florida as well. It's just on timing, which it might be first. So they're in Texas. They're actually in several other states. And if you give me a second.
And also,
Jeff's got that.
okay.
And I think Arizona and a few others.
All right, Jeff Zito with Southeast Investments. Good question. So we actually asked that same thing because we wanted to educate ourselves on it so we could present those facts to you guys. There honestly isn't. This is going to be one of the first ones in South Florida. They are working on some sites up in the Orlando area and Tallahassee, but really south of Orlando, there isn't a facility.
I'm saying in another state where I could like look it up.
Gotcha. So they're all over Texas, New Mexico, Indiana. I think there's Ohio. I think Nevada. So they're kind of all over now.
And what, like, you say it's a boutique. Like, when people, it's a small, there's rooms upstairs, like approximately, like how many?
I think there's 6 or 8 rooms, I
So,
believe.
in case somebody needed urgent care, what, like, I'm just curious, like, what what would make somebody stay? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
do, absolutely. That's the very same question I had to them. I was trying to understand
Yeah.
why would you go here and
I mean,
go to
I
a
love
hospital?
it. I
think
love
is what
it.
you're asking.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I'll give you a scenario. I think that's the best way to answer it. So let's say you break your arm. You need to go to an emergency provider to do whatever you need to do to get it fixed, right? You could go to a hospital where potentially you're going to wait, half hour, whatever that might be. You're with trauma victims. You're going to get put on a scale of how bad is your injury. At a place like this, that's what they specialize in. They're going to get you in and out as fast as possible. They have, I think, 8 to 12 doctors that would be on staff that can get you in and out. And that's really what they strive for. Their business model is based on getting you in and out. Doesn't take away from hospitals. It's actually meant to complement them. You have, I think, is it Memorial, correct, up the street?
Yeah, on South, the small one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you have that up the street, and that's actually one of the things that drove them to here is because I think that needs, they believe, and I
They
think we
need
all
help.
probably think
Yeah.
that's the same conversation.
I
So-
actually been going to that.
So in this scenario, it's not meant to take those patients that truly need a large facility hospital, while a Nutex facility can handle pretty much the exact same things a hospital would. They're not going to accept, ambulance traffic that, like a typical hospital would. That's not what they're going after. While that could happen, because they're never going to turn away an emergency if it's needed, that's not what they're specializing in. They're looking for somebody that you're injured and you don't need to go to the hospital per se, but an urgent care is not going to be able to help you. So as Brian said, it bridges that gap.
There are different ways that hospitals serve communities. It's not a trauma hospital, so there are just very few hospitals that are considered the trauma hospitals where if there's true trauma, that's where they go. But these are doctors that work in the same, these are different doctors, that are going to be on the site. So it is intended to be, and there are rooms up top, so it is intended to be like it will call a micro hospital. But trauma is generally going to go to your trauma hospitals. So, if I can, so the states that are currently, it's Arizona, Arkansas, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, Ohio, Oklahoma, Texas, and Wisconsin. They listed them nicely because if I had to try and name them all from the map, I might have gotten in trouble. So.
Thank you.
One other thing I wanted to mention too is that the doctors that actually work at this location are are part owners as well. It may not sound like a big deal, but to the medical industry it is, because they're vested in it, right? They need to be there to be successful. It's kind of like a mom and pop restaurant, right? If the mom and pop aren't there, the restaurant's not going to survive. So it's kind of a new, it's not new, it's been going on a long time, but it's for this size facility, it's something new to South Florida. And I think you're going to see several of these pop up, and it was kind of neat to us to hear that Pembroke Park was going to be one of the first ones.
That's amazing.
That's honestly what won us over. We were hesitant, and that won us over when we heard that, because we thought that would mean a lot to the town. So.
Before I fall. And they're not the only ones that are, so HCA, which does Aventura Hospital, Kendall Regional Medical Center, Baptist, a lot of the main hospitals are also are branching out and doing freestanding emergency departments and freestanding emergency rooms. One in Cutler Bay just got approved, Doral, in one town. They're actually, some of them open in regional malls in a parking lot of a regional mall. So you're seeing these kind of smaller facilities that are intended to be able to serve, because I'll go by Dade County. So population increased in South Florida by like 20% in the last 2 decades. How many, 40-acre campuses of hospitals are there to try and build? So this is actually a benefit for the future to allow individuals to be serviced.
If you do not have any further questions, you could go ahead and somebody could make a motion to approve with recommendations, because they provided comments and recommendations to the modification of the site plan.
Okay, so can we have a motion to approve with approval and modification to the site plan?
I second that.
Third.
So you have a first and a second.
It's passed.
Roll call.
Chanel Brown,
Here.
do you approve?
Yes, I approve.
Eric Morissette,
Aye.
Vice Chair Cherise Cologne, and Renisha McNeil. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much for your time, and it's a pleasure to be before you again this evening. So, thank you. And I'm going to give my.
Oh, it's okay. Thank you very much.
All in favor to adjourn?
Yes.
Aye.
It is now 6:36. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Horse. You better.
Moving on.